Okay, so UFC 273, Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. Probably on paper the best card of this year. Definitely when it comes to UFC pay-per-views anyway. Some real solid fights on this card. You look at the early prelims, some decent fights, but I think all of the interest is definitely on the three fights. You know, the main event, the co-main, and then the welterweight fight. But there are some decent fights on this one. I think out of the other ones, you got Rosenstrike obviously on the undercard. You got Ian Gary, Mackenzie Dern, see. But yeah, some solid fights on this. But I think the Mackenzie Dern versus Tisha Torres is a decent fight. But I think the ones I'm going to focus on are the sort of the like I said, the main three fights. But again, some good ones. Mickey Gall on there. You got Aspen Ladd against Raquel Pennington, which is a decent fight, I guess, for women's. Right. Kay Hansen on there against Pierre Rodriguez, who I like. Kay Hansen, she looks pretty solid so far. Some, again, decent up-and-coming fights. Again, Ian Gary's got the whole Conor McGregor thing going on, which is fun, but I also find it a bit weird at the same time. You know, I always be your own fighter, man. That's what I say. But a good one. But yeah, like I said, so the three main fights I'm going to focus on, like I said, are the three ones in the main card. But yeah, before I get into that, like I said, it is a really solid card. Usually, these last few pay-per-view cards have been a bit lackluster, but I'm hoping this one will be better. And I think the intrigue I have for all three fights, I think definitely it piques my curiosity a lot of these fights. So, but yeah, I'll start off with the third fight from the main event, and that is probably the fight I'm looking forward to the most, and that's Khamzat Chimaev against Gilbert Burns. This fight I've been looking forward to for a while. This is the fight that is going to show what Khamzat Chimaev is. Is he a hype train? Is he for real? Is he just unstoppable? Khabib 2.0, or maybe even better than Khabib? Is he all that, or is he a hype train? You don't know. You really don't. But this is going to show, really, because if he runs through Gilbert Burns and makes it look easy, even if... So sometimes, like, if you run through an opponent too quick, it can almost be a bit deceiving. I always thought with Ngannou was going for the belt the first time around, he knocked out over him very quickly. But I knew he'd lose to Stipe that first fight because he hadn't been tested enough. And I think for Chimaev, if he is going to be a champion, this is the type of fight where you need to see more from him in the sense of, one, I don't know if he's going to smash Burns as easy as he has done these last few fights, you know. He's literally picking guys up, throwing them down, knocking guys out with the first punch they've thrown. He hasn't really met any stiff competition, but Gilbert Burns is that. Gilbert Burns fought Kamaru Usman, in my opinion, out of all of the guys in welterweight. If I take Chimaev out for a sec, if you look at Colby, Leon Edwards, you look at Gilbert Burns, you look at Masvidal, Wonderboy, some great welterweight fighters in there. I think, honestly, Luke as well, I think Gilbert Burns actually has the best chance of beating him, and that sounds weird because he got jabbed and finished it last time, but he did hurt Usman. He's kind of got some deceptive power, I think, on the feet, Gilbert Burns, and his jiu-jitsu is fantastic. Although, I'll be honest, I don't think we have seen that. It's great, his jiu-jitsu, but I don't think we've seen it enough. Not like how we've seen with someone like Charles Oliveira, for example. So, yeah, I'd be interested in where this fight takes place. But yeah, Burns is going to be a real stiff test. He only fought for the belt literally 2 fights ago, so it's going to be a real, like I said, a real test to see what Chimaev is. Now, on Chimaev, when he first came in the UFC, it's intriguing, you know, when you see a fighter go through one guy and then fight literally a week later. And it feels like thus far he's passed every test with these. He should have beaten Lin Jiang. He should have beaten Mia Shah. But the fact that he did it and did it so easily, you know, the hype almost stays on the same level. But if he can do this to Gilbert Burns, what if he can beat him in general, it would be a great victory because Gilbert Burns is no joke at welterweight. And if he can do it with ease, then honestly, I want to see him fight Colby. I want to see him fight Colby. I was going to say Masvidal, but I don't think I'm really interested in that fight. But Colby, I would definitely love to see that fight. But honestly, if he beats Gilbert Burns, either way, he should probably fight for the belt next. I know it's going to be Leon Edwards against Kamaru Usman. I like Edwards. I don't know what he can really do, though, to Usman, to be honest with you. I think Kamaru Usman will get that one done again. Yeah, I just in this fight though, I do think there's two things that Chimaev has not. There's nothing's been tested with Chimaev. First thing is his chin. He's literally took one strike in, what is it, 4 fights, and that one strike was when, I think it was when he had Phillips on bottom and he gave him like a little shot which was nothing, no damage on it, no anything. So we haven't seen him get punched in the face, you know. We kind of see, you know, with a lot of guys, you need that chin test, because if he has a solid chin, then it's a problem for everybody. But who knows? Maybe if Burns connects him, maybe he drops him, maybe how's his head moving. You know, there's so many different things. On the feet, he's supposed to be very good Chimaev and really good kickboxing, and that's sort of the whole thing about a grappler, is that you never know. But with Gilbert Burns, there is no real threat for him to get taken down, in the sense that Gilbert Burns is comfortable there. We saw this with the Usman fight, you know. It was essentially, like I said, a kickboxing match, because Usman knew how good Burns was on the ground, and he knew that from training with him. And even though we haven't seen a lot of his jiu-jitsu, Burns, I think, he's tricky for anybody, because there isn't really any place that you're much better than him at. Even the striking, I don't think you'll be that much better than him. So, a real good fight, though. I'll be honest. So, like I said, the chin is what we haven't seen. We also haven't seen the cardio from Chimaev. His fights have been so quick that it's been hard to really see how can he keep that pace up for 2-3 rounds, or will he fade after a bit? You don't really know. And I like to, for that reason alone, I would like to see how he does. I want this fight to go to the third round, because I want to see how he is in the third. Because if he fights Kamaru Usman, we know Usman can go in championship rounds. He's, you know, knocked out Colby in them rounds, or finished him in the first fight. He went all the way with Masvidal then. You know, he went all the way with Colby in championship rounds. So he knows, and he's done it many times before he even fought for the title. So you know with Kamaru Usman that he could do that, or he can do that. We don't know that with Chimaev. We don't know what, like I said, what his cardio is. So yeah, an interesting one for Burns. Like I said, I think, I don't know if I would go out there and just throw the right hand, because ultimately you gotta be smart. If you just throw that right hand wildly, he will look to take you down, and he will get you down. Chimaev is also a very big, very, very big welterweight, which is why him and Usman is probably such an interesting fight, because physically Usman's built like a tank, and so is Chimaev, but Chimaev's more longer. You kind of just see he's naturally bigger. Usman, he has, I don't know how to explain this. Usman's a very, very big welterweight, but it feels like Chimaev would be a big middleweight as well. And I think that would be the another factor. I think, you know, if they're ever up close, if Chimaev tries to get a takedown, the strength, because Burns, they used to fight at 155. So I think it's a hard fight to really call, though, because, again, Chimaev's lack of experience, you don't know. But my prediction, it's a hard one, because you don't know. But I'm thinking Chimaev gets this done by a stoppage in the third round. I think he may be one of them where he gets him down and just sort of finishes him with strikes with the ground and pound. But I don't know, it's a hard one, because again, Chimaev is so untested, you don't know. But if he can, like I said, beat Burns, he's for real. And people say he'll beat Usman because he's so stopped, but I really don't know what happens in that. Because one thing I think, he maybe could take Burns down and maybe do something. The way he kind of picks people up and slams them down, I don't think you're ever doing that with Kamaru Usman. He's a fantastic wrestler, and like I said, physically he's very strong. I know he took Hermanson down, but Usman, I just think and Usman's fight IQ as well. That's another thing. How is Chimaev's fight IQ? He kind of just, in these few fights he's had, in all of them, he literally just straight away took the person down and then dominated them there. It's like the first thing he's pretty much done. And in the other fight, he was under pressure and he knocked me a shot out of one shot, so it was nothing really. Again, you just need to see him go longer, I think, and as competition gets tougher, he will do that. But yeah, but like I said, Chimaev gets this. I'm gonna say, yeah, a third round, ground and pound. For Burns as well, his chin sometimes is a bit dodgy, so it wouldn't surprise me if Chimaev knocks him down a few times. But again, I feel like I know everything I need to know about Gilbert Burns. I feel like he's a good wrestler, good on the feet, but his chin's a bit dodgy, and he kind of had a bit of a adrenaline dump in that Usman fight, so it feels like he can get a bit emotional. So mentally, I think Chimaev is very, very solid from what we've seen thus far anyway. But Burns, he kind of feels like sometimes he's a bit emotional. Saw that in the Usman fight a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to say, though, Khamzat Chimaev gets this one done via third round TKO. And if he wins, him and Usman is the fight I want to see. It's probably one of my most anticipated fights ever because I really, it's such an interesting fight. You got Usman, who is arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. If not, he's not that far off, I don't think. And then you got Chimaev, who's this unbeatable thing. It's like what would happen if Khabib was like a welterweight. It's such an interesting fight with better striking, I probably would say as well. But yeah, great fight. Going into the co-main, you got Aljamain Sterling versus Piotr Jan. This fight has been the most annoying thing ever because of how long it's taken. It was supposed to happen. Was it the one where I forget which UFC it was. I think it was the Blachowicz and the Teixeira fight, and obviously that's why I think obviously Jan fought Sandhagen for the interim belt. But yeah, this because of how long it's taken, it's got a bit annoying. But the first fight I had, it was a tight one. I'll be honest with you, but I really like Aljamain Sterling. So in the first one, I kind of went with my heart over my head. My head told me Piotr Jan would win, but my heart was going with Aljamain Sterling. And in fairness, in the first round, if it doesn't get dropped, I think you probably definitely give that one to Sterling. Jan tends to lose the first few rounds. It's a little bit like Canelo in that way, where he'll just kind of get outworked and I don't know, but eventually he's like a computer. Eventually he just adapts, and he really, once he kind of gets into his rhythm, it's really hard to stop him because his boxing, his Muay Thai is it's just so good to watch. Jan, and I think, for a guy who is bear in mind, he's a 135. He's also got that intimidating thing that, a lot of these Russians have. So he's really going to be a player. And he's only 29 as well, I'm pretty sure. So he's young to an extent in his fighting career. And and then in the second round, again, it wasn't that far. The problem with Sterling wasn't that I don't think he got dominated or outclassed. It was that he essentially went crazy and tried to throw everything at Piotr Jan. And because he tried to throw everything at him, he just completely ran out of gas. And Piotr Jan's the one guy you don't want to run out of gas against, because if you do, he will literally just pick you apart and make you look foolish. And that's what he did. And the amount of times he took Sterling down as well, it was remarkable. But yeah, I think I think I gave one round one to Jan because they're not down. But again, you could have given that to Sterling, to be fair. I think round two I gave to Sterling, and round three is when it completely went to Jan's favour again. Sterling tried to go so heavy. And Sterling can go 5 rounds, don't get twisted, but he just went so heavy trying to sort of mix it up and get the takedowns that he just ended up... I was looking a bit foolish at times. He was kind of sliding all over the place. There was no composure in there for him, man. Maybe because it's the title shot, maybe that's it. I don't know what it was, but he wasn't with it. And because of, obviously, he got dominated in the third, and then in the fourth he was getting dominated, but obviously Jan landed the illegal knee, and Aljamain Sterling was like going for that Oscar. I'll be honest, like that Lee was an eagle. He should have been disqualified. I don't have anything against that. In fairness, even in the knee and how he reacted, that was a solid knee for Piotr Jan. I don't think he faked that completely, but his reaction afterwards, and you see him at the parties with the belt and saying he's a champion, it ain't a good look. And he's become the public enemy #1 now. Everybody hates this guy. And I think, I think people, their hate almost blinds them a little bit. Same thing with Colby. Same thing with, I don't know, so many other fighters. The amount of fighters who are genuinely amazing, but people don't want to look at it. They only want to look at, because he's not their favourite fighter, they kind of have this thing where they dismiss everything. Aljamain Sterling is a great elite level jiu-jitsu guy and good wrestler. And on the feet, he's very good. And I think that was my biggest thing. I think in this second fight, if he wants to win this, to me, use your striking more. Mix it up. Don't just keep going for the takedown, because, yeah, he got him down in the first, but you've got to be unpredictable with it. If you're just shooting constantly, it's just not going to... You're not going to get a guy like Piotr Jan like that down. But Piotr Jan is an absolute machine. That Sandhagen fight, he was brilliant. It was a great fight to watch. And on the feet, again, like I said, he's just so... he's just a beast. And his boxing is very clean. And there's a power difference as well. I think Piotr Jan did hit harder. So I think, as well on the wrestling, Piotr Jan's wrestling is what makes him more terrifying. Because you don't really take him down. Even if you do, he gets up quite quick. And even if, you look at the amount of times that Jan was just kicking the legs out from Sterling, taking him down at ease, it was it was crazy. But yeah, I think in this fight though, Sterling, I think, will take it slow, be more composed. I think he'll do good, better than what people think. But I think Jan would just edge it, because I just think Jan is just a little bit of a level above Sterling. But don't get it twisted, Sterling's elite though, and I think people forget that. You know, Aljamain Sterling really, again, like I said, people forget, look how good Corey Sandhagen is, and look what he did to Corey Sandhagen. You know, look what he's done in his whole career. He's a brilliant fighter. But yeah, I think Jan will get it by decision. I don't think he'll knock him out or finish him, unless he gets hit with like if Jan does catch him with a knee or something dramatic, because, you know, Sterling has been knocked out before. Unless it's that, I think I don't see us. So Sterling can win, but I just think it's a hard task. It isn't impossible or anything like people make it out to be. So I'll say it's more of a 60-40 in Jan's favour, to be honest. But yeah, and you know, you got to look at it from mentally as well. Sterling didn't notice he got dominated, so will that play a factor in the fight? I don't know, but it should be that's an interesting fight, I'll be honest. And yeah, hopefully once that's done, whatever happens, we get the real champion, because this whole thing of Jan having the interim belt, even though he was the champion, people think he was the better fighter, but Sterling has the belt. It's all long. So yeah, hopefully we get a definitive outcome this time. I don't care who wins. They're both elite, but yeah, like I said, I think Piotr Jan takes it. And then we go into the main event with Alexander Volkanovski versus the Korean Zombie. This is a weird one. This featherweight division is a bit weird, I'm not gonna lie. It feels as if everybody kind of feels like Max Holloway is the number one contender or number one guy after Volkanovski. Those two are the two best, but for some reason he's either getting injured or he's... I mean, he literally... The fight got announced and he got injured like 2 days after, I think, Holloway. So it's a weird thing that's going on. Volkanovski showed against Ortega that he's for real. He's a fantastic fighter, elite champion, but ultimately I think you need this type of win to sort of prove that you're more than just beating one guy. I think the great thing about some of the great champions is that they beat so many different styles, different matchups. And for the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung-jung, this is his first fight for a UFC belt. Considering how long he's been in the UFC as well, it's a bit crazy that's happening. But again, I don't know about this one, because with Volkanovski, he's done very well, and he's got that sick kickboxing, so his striking is quite awkward to deal with. But yeah, I think with the Korean Zombie, he's always there to be hit, and I feel like this could be a bit of an ugly fight at first, and maybe it will explode into life. I don't know, but yeah, I think in this fight, Volkanovski's record is 23-1. I do think I hope he doesn't get... I feel like he may be getting to the Kamaru Usman level of where he's kind of severely underrated, and I feel like he needs I don't think this win will do it, but I feel like he needs a big win to show that. Maybe if he beats Holloway a third time and does it convincingly, that would do it. I don't know. But 23-1, that can't be ignored. He's an elite fighter, Volkanovski, and yeah, I just and I think he gets it done again. To be honest, for Chan Sung-jung, you know, his boxing is pretty solid. He's not that bad on the ground. I think his best... I mean, Volkanovski does sometimes get hit. You could catch him with something, but I'll be honest, I just think that... I don't know, the way Volkanovski is, like I said, he seems to be getting better every single fight. And against Ortega, he also shown that he has that championship grit. You know, he was in as deep a guillotine as I think I've ever seen, and didn't quit, didn't submit. And, you know, I think the fights against Aldo really kind of saw me on Volkanovski, but I think, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. It's a hard one for the Korean Zombie. But you know what? It would be a crazy story if he were to win it, and then you see people like Glover winning the belt as well. It does sort of show how unpredictable UFC could be. But yeah, I think Volkanovski takes it. I think his striking is very good. I think he would just sort of pick him off at range, and a little bit of maybe of what the Holloway 1 fight was like, where he kind of was able to pick him off at range. He obviously loves the calf kicks and just keep at it. He's got power, Volkanovski, but it kind of hasn't really... It's been shown, but I think thus far, I think you need the right opponent to sort of bring it out of you. But yeah, I do think after Holloway, the Korean Zombie probably should be the next guy, in fairness, for the belt. He's on a fantastic winning streak at the moment. And then, you know, if you look at both of these guys as well, one thing about the Korean Zombie as well, another example, a bit of a Charles Oliveira. It doesn't matter how many times he's lost, he always comes back. And, you know, again, you look at his record, it's a bit crazy. So he beat lost to Aldo, beat Dennis Bermudez, lost to Yair, beat Renato Moicano, beat Frankie Edgar, then he lost to Ortega, and beat Danny Ige. A nice fight for the belt. So again, a bit inconsistent. It kind of shows his featherweight division what it's about. There's never really any standout clear contenders, really. Holloway's probably the only one I can think. Zabit isn't fighting. Yair's a bit inconsistent, and obviously fought Holloway and it was a great fight, but still, nobody's emerging yet at featherweight, and I think that's what you know. Once that happens, I think maybe then you'll see how great Volkanovski is. But again, I do think him and Holloway are the two main guys at the moment. But yeah, I think Volkanovski gets it done. I think he'll get it done via unanimous decision. I don't think he'll finish the Korean Zombie, but who knows? I mean, Volkanovski's his last 3 fights have all been decisions. Since he won the bout, and that was a decision. The defense was a decision, and the Ortega fight decision. So yeah, I really would like to. I would like to see Volkanovski get the finish, just to sort of, as a champion, you never want to be known as boring, and it's a narrative that I don't think many fighters. When Khabib won the belt, he started finishing everybody. Kamaru Usman was seen as boring, and now he's finishing everybody, or most people anyway. People kind of gone off Adesanya a bit because of his last few fights have been decisions, but yeah, I do think. But yeah, like I said, I think Volkanovski gets it done. And yeah, I think this is a great card. Like I said, 3 amazing fights. I'm really interested to see what happens to all of them. I think if I had to rank it in order, it'd be the opposite way. I think Chimaev and Burns is my most anticipated. Then Jan versus Aljo, and then I'd say Volkanovski and Korean Zombie. But a good fights, nonetheless, a good card. And it's about time, I think we're now in April, so I think now you'll start seeing more. Again, during the summertime is where it picks up the UFC, so I think we'll get some better cards down the line. You got Justin Gaethje Oliveira coming up, so maybe that would be a good one. I don't know, but yeah, like I said, it'd be interesting. This one, 3 close fights. In fairness, in the main ones, I don't think it's a clear winner for either. It's very 3 tough ones. So I would never. I don't bet, but I would never put money at any of these because I think it's hard to go either way. But yeah, good fight, good card, and I will do a review of it after the pay-per-view. So yeah, until next time.